criminal charges against the lead prosecutor in his criminal trial, Advocate Billy Dana. No doubt we'll continue to give you more information as and when we receive it on this particular case. All right, well, let's go back then to our top story on the crisis in Eswatini. The Southern African Development Community has deployed a special envoy to Eswatini amid unrest in the kingdom. The envoys were appointed by President Cyril Ramaphosa in his capacity as chairperson of the SADC organ on defense, politics and security. The envoys will travel to Eswatini tomorrow. Let's take this discussion further then. And we're now joined via Zoom by Pius Vilakati for the Communist Party in Eswatini. A very good afternoon to you, first of all. Thanks so much for being with us here on SABC News, sir.
Greetings, and also greetings to the viewers at home.
We've certainly been keeping an eye on what's happening in the Kingdom of Swaziland. Very interestingly, our minister, who has been sent to intervene on the matter, has said that the success of peace interventions in the country depends on the citizens of the kingdom. Would you say that that is accurate? I mean, when it comes to whether or not these peace interventions work, certainly one has to have buy-in, if I can put it that way, from the king himself.
Well, the people of Swaziland for the past 5 decades have chosen the path of peace in the transition to democracy. For all these years, we have alerted bodies like the SADC, African Union, and other international bodies on the suppression of the people in Swaziland. But despite that, SADC and others kept silent on the question of Swaziland, and they did nothing. Time and time again, they went to Swaziland to endorse Mswati's undemocratic elections. Now, it does not, therefore, live only with the people of Swaziland, because the people of Swaziland cannot defeat such a tyrant which receives international support from various imperialist forces around the world and various independent business people who fund the regime, such as MTN, who gave him shares and also helped him shut down the internet while he massacres the people. So we need the people of Swaziland. The people of Swaziland themselves have stood up to fight against the regime, but we need international solidarity. But international solidarity itself cannot be neutral, and the SADC's role itself cannot be a neutral one. There is one aggressor in this picture, and it is the monarchy, not the people who want to be free from oppression.
Yeah, and speaking of that neutrality, I mean, do the people of Eswatini trust the process, trust the fact that SADC's envoy that is currently being deployed to the country to engage with the king will be neutral in the matter? I mean, I really want to get a sense of what, people on the ground would be saying about this envoy. Is there a sense that this envoy would necessarily be siding with the king? I mean, you mentioned, you mentioned those that have sided with the king before, including companies, cell phone operator, for example, that you've mentioned. So one wonders if you would then trust the SADC envoy that is now being deployed.
The words of former Minister Hadebe, for instance, they appear sincere to someone who has not been alive for the past 2 months or even for the past 50 years. They appear sincere, but the actions have spoken far more than the words. The 2 visits that SADC made to Swaziland proved to everyone in Swaziland and outside that they are only going there to side with the regime. The first statement they released was a condemnation of the people for rising up against tyranny. And later they went and had meetings with the government, totally excluding the people who are the victims of the Dinkhundla regime. The government of Swaziland gave them their own people to talk to. And then they went out and claimed that they had consulted the people of Swaziland. Meanwhile, 70 at least people had been killed by then. None of those families were ever even called to come and explain their situations. None of the political parties or the workers' unions and the people affected with the violence of the regime of June and July were ever invited by SADC to come and explain their cases. Yeah. But now, with with SADC going to Swaziland, the people of Swaziland have no trust at all with the envoys that are going into Swaziland, that they will do a sincere job of engaging the people as a whole.
Give us a sense of, the current state right now in the kingdom. I mean, we'd really heard, some of these stories that you mentioned. Certainly, the people being killed. There's a story about Eswatini nurses being shot and brutally dispersed during protests. I mean, talk to us about that situation and perhaps what may have been missed globally as Eswatini is going through this.
Yesterday, on Wednesday, for instance, the regime, in an attempt to shut down a protest of workers in Mbabane, and also to shut down protesters who are calling for democracy, who are going to the High Court and calling for the release of political parties, they brutalized the people. Firstly, they stopped many of the buses from even reaching Mbabane. They threw, at some point, in one instance, they threw tear gas inside a bus, shot everyone who tried to exit through the door, and people had to jump through windows. So many, close to 50 or more, have been injured. But they did not just do that only. Those people were taken to hospital at government Mbabane Hospital, drenched in blood. The floors at the government hospital in Mbabane drenched in blood. The police still went into the hospital. They invaded the hospital and shot 5 nurses there and other people who were inside the hospital. And this is not surprising for us. Mswati has come out clearly and said that he is unwilling and will never engage in any dialogue when it comes to the future of the country. The fact of the matter is that in Swaziland, being alive is a crime. Right now already, one of the princes, who is a minister of housing, has already issued a command to ban all demonstrations in Swaziland. They have done that. And now we need international solidarity, but also we need SADC to be sincere, not with the government of Swaziland, but with the people of Swaziland. At this stage, nobody trusts SADC unless they do something really serious to come and talk to the people themselves.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so very much for speaking to us. And let's keep in touch. Certainly, we, as I've said to you, we are keeping an eye on the situation in Eswatini, and we'll certainly be touching base with you at a later stage to get more information. But in the meantime, thanks so very much here on SABC News this afternoon.
Thank you.
All right. That is Pius Vilakati for the Communist Party in Eswatini. We're going to take a short break. More news coming up after this.